Moving to the cloud promises all this amazing innovation, but for a lot of folks, it comes with a pretty nasty surprise: the bill. See, the biggest challenge isn't usually the technology itself, it's getting a handle on the cost. So today, we're going to explore a framework called financial governance that helps you get back in the driver's seat of your cloud spending.
So let's just be real for a second. Have you, or maybe someone you work with, ever opened up a cloud bill and just been totally floored by the number? Yeah, it is an incredibly common pain point. That feeling of, wait, where did all this spending even come from? That's exactly what we're going to tackle.
To get why this happens, you've got to understand this huge shift in how IT spending even works. Back in the day, IT budgets were what we call capital expenditures, or CapEx. You'd plan for these big, predictable hardware purchases way in advance. But the cloud? It runs on a totally different model: operating expenditures, or OpEx. Now, costs are variable, they're decentralized, and it's all based on on-demand access. It's a completely different way of thinking.
Now, here's what's so fascinating about this shift. It's who is doing the spending. Because pretty much anyone with the right permissions can spin up a new server or a database whenever they want. Managing these costs just isn't a job for the finance team anymore. No way. It's become a shared responsibility that ropes in developers, engineers, and business leaders too.
So, the big question is, how do you navigate this new world without your costs just spiraling out of control? Well, the answer is to build a new financial framework, a really clear path to getting a grip on your cloud spend.
And that framework has a name: Cloud Financial Governance. Seriously, just think of it as the official rulebook for your cloud spending. It's a whole set of processes and controls that help you manage and, really importantly, optimize what you're spending. This gives you peace of mind and, the best part, prevents those awful budget overruns.
And the best way to put this into practice is with a simple 3-pillar framework that we're going to walk through. It all boils down to 3 things: people, process, and technology. If you can get these 3 working in harmony, you are well on your way.
So let's kick things off with the first, and honestly the most important pillar: people. You can have all the tech in the world, but it won't solve this problem on its own. Effective cloud cost management is a total team sport, and it takes a pretty big cultural shift in how different parts of your company work together.
This chart here really paints the perfect picture of that core partnership. You've got finance, who understands the budget. You have technology, who understands the resources. And you have the business, which gives you the strategic why. The problem is, they're often speaking completely different languages. To really succeed, you have to build a bridge between them because you absolutely need all 3 perspectives. So a really powerful way to make this partnership official is by creating what's called a Cloud Center of Excellence, or a CCOE. This is a central group that brings together experts from all over the organization. They're the ones who set the best practices, give everyone a clear view into spending, and, this is crucial, they can make those tough real-time decisions and trade-offs when costs start to climb. Okay, so we've got the right people talking to each other. Now let's dive into that second pillar, process. This is all about building the right habits and creating a real culture of financial accountability that spreads across the entire organization.
Effective cost management has a certain rhythm, a cadence to it. So on a daily or maybe weekly basis, your teams should be keeping a close eye on their usage and costs. Then, on a weekly or monthly basis, the finance and CCO teams can zoom out, analyze the results, attribute costs back to the right teams, and hunt for those opportunities to optimize. The whole point of this process is summed up perfectly right here. The goal is to build a culture of accountability where teams can spot waste, act on it fast, and make sure they're getting the absolute most out of their cloud investment. See, this isn't just about spreadsheets, it's about empowering everyone to treat cloud resources like the valuable investment they are, not some unlimited utility. And here's a super critical point in the process: understanding the difference between your invoice and a cost management tool. Your invoice, it just tells you what you spent. But a cost management tool, now that's what tells you why you spent it. It gives you the detailed data you need to see trends and pinpoint exactly where you can be smarter with your money. And that leads us perfectly into our third and final pillar: technology. These are the actual tools in your toolkit that give you the visibility and the control you need to put your whole governance plan into action.
The foundation of control really starts with how you organize everything. In Google Cloud, this is called the resource hierarchy. Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like the folder system on your computer. At the very top, you have your organization. Underneath that, you use folders to group projects, maybe by department or by environment. Inside those folders are your projects, and they hold the actual resources, things like virtual machines and storage buckets. This structure is so key because permissions flow from the top down.
Okay, once you have that nice, clean structure in place, you can start using some proactive controls. First up, resource quotas. This is basically like setting a spending limit on a credit card. You can define hard limits on how many of a certain resource a project is allowed to use, which literally prevents overspending before it can even happen.
The second proactive tool is budget alerts. Think of this as your early warning system. You can set thresholds like, say, at 50%, 90%, and 100% of a project's budget. When spending hits one of those marks, it automatically sends a notification to the right people. This gives your teams a chance to hit the brakes or change course before the costs get out of hand.
So while quotas and alerts are all about being proactive, you also need to be reactive, and that's where cloud billing reports come in. They help you track and really understand what you've already spent. By looking at these reports regularly, you can start to spot trends, figure out what's driving your costs, and find those golden opportunities for optimization down the road.
And finally, we have one of the most powerful optimization tools out there, committed use discounts, or CUDs. Look, if you have workloads that are pretty predictable, you can commit to using a certain amount of resources for a 1 or 3 year term. And in exchange for that commitment, you get a really significant discount on the price. It's a no-brainer for stable workloads. So we've covered the people, the process, and the technology. Now let's bring it all together for the ultimate takeaway from all of this. If you remember one thing today, let it be this. This is not just a technical problem that you can solve with a technical fix. Real, effective cloud cost management is a cultural shift. It's about getting finance, tech, and the business teams all collaborating and building a shared sense of accountability for every resource being used. The technology and the processes, they're just there to support and enable that culture. Which leaves us with one final question for you to think about for your own organization. When you look at your cloud bill, do you see a strategic investment that's creating real business value, or do you just see another uncontrollable expense? With the right governance in place, you can make sure it's always the first one.